All right, good evening, everybody. We are live. We have a severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued for a couple counties in far southern Indiana. Let's go ahead and go over these. Washington County, western Clark, northern Harrison, as well as southern Washington. Places include New Pekin, Borden, Palmyra. This is going to be a warning in effect until appears to be 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time. The reason we are live is due to the fact this has a tornado possible tag. And we're going to switch radars here in just a second. We're going to take this, roll it over here. Kind of caught us off guard just a bit. We're going to throw this on the screen here. There we go. This is your velocity map. As you can see here, we have some greens and some reds coming together that will indicate some rotation just to the north of Fredericksburg. So, with that being said, if you are out ahead of this, Shorts Corner, New Pekin, Martinsburg, Borden, Wilson, Henryville, New Liberty, South Boston, you guys should be inside away from windows, and it would be a good idea to head to your safe place, whether that's a basement or into your closet, bathroom. This does have some rotation, albeit it is weak rotation. It is still worth watching with this storm. Otherwise, the wind gusts are possible up to 60 miles per hour. So that is a secondary hazard, really a main hazard, but it's kind of like a 1-2 punch. With it's not going to be a tornado, it's going to be some wind here for you guys down here in the southern part of Washington County. Most of the rotation is firmly in the very far southern part of Washington County, but the warning does encompass the very far northern part of Harrison as well as the western half of Clark counties. This is moving off to the east rapidly, about 50 to 60 miles per hour, so its movement is quite rapid. We'll be live here for the entirety of this warning, or until the tag for a tornado has been dropped. One of the whoever comes first, really. But this warning is in effect for 30 minutes. So stick with us. We'll keep you guys covered here if you live out ahead of this. In relation, Louisville is right down here. So we are very far south Indiana by the Kentucky border. Go ahead, Caleb.
I was going to say the center of this rotation in the center of your box there is just north of Fredericksburg, north of US 150. I'm going to be moving near the Martinsburg area and New Pectin area over the next few minutes or so. And all up and down this line, there's been some gusty winds reported of around 30 to 40 miles per hour. Even a gust near 57 miles per hour measured earlier tonight on the south side of Indianapolis as that moved through. So we could see some sporadic wind gusts that briefly reach severe criteria before this is all said and done. But again, widespread severe weather, not expected tonight, but an occasional storm could briefly reach severe criteria. When talking about severe weather, we like to talk about what ingredients we have and what we don't have. Tonight we have a lot of ingredients. We have moisture, we have lift, and we have wind shear, but the one big one that we don't have is instability, and that is our limiting factor here tonight. If we had more instability, tonight would be probably a much larger event, but because we don't have any instability, these storms are rather on the weak side and have been subsevere most of the evening.
Latest update here shows rotation moving just south of Oregon Springs. This map here has a lot of small towns and population centers here. So Martinsburg, New Pekin, as well as Old Pekin, Daisy Hill, Blue River, Borden, Chestnut Hill out ahead of this. State Route 135 is going to be a north-south road. This is heading in toward that direction. Moving in toward the New Pekin area here shortly.
In this severe thunderstorm warning, tornado possible, penny size hail, 60 mile per hour winds. And this is for north central Harrison County, south central Indiana, northwestern Clark County, south central Indiana, northwestern Scott County, south central Indiana, as well as southern Washington County in central Indiana. 6:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Severe thunderstorm was located near 11 miles southeast or southwest of Salem, moving east at 45 miles per hour. So, as with any tornado warning, enter your room away from windows. Lowest level of your home, basement is preferred, but if you don't have a basement, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible to protect yourself from any flying debris. We don't have any indications that really signals that a tornado is in progress here, but there is enough rotation where the National Weather Service put that tag in the severe thunderstorm warning to say, hey, there is some rotation, we're watching it. Just not quite strong enough to have confidence for a tornado warning, but the rotation is there. That is one of the reasons why they have that tag within the severe thunderstorm warning, as it could always intensify to meet tornado warning criteria. It is just below that right now.
Behind the scenes,
which is good.
here,
Hopefully it stays that way.
Behind the scenes here, I do have a advanced software pulled up. On the bottom right of the software over here, that is where we're watching for anything debris ball. If there's debris being lofted by a tornado on the ground, it would show up as a yellowish blue circular dot where the rotation is. Right now, we're just not seeing that. So right now, there's no indication this is on the ground. In fact, the rotation here, Caleb, I don't think it's that tight. It's there, but it's not really
it's
tight.
There, but yeah. So right now, what you really want to see is those colors right now. See how the reds and greens are running parallel to each other? What you really want to see right just above the Berg of Fredericksburg is where those colors are kind of holding hands, just like a couplet on a rail car. That's how this gets its name, is you really want to see the reds and greens holding hands. There's not a lot of holding hands right here. They're more so running next to each other, but that could occlude, tighten up, and if we see them holding hands a little bit tighter, that's when we get a little bit more concerned. But for right now, they are more parallel to each other. But it's something to keep an eye on as well. There's enough of a curvature there, enough of holding hands going on where you see the reds curve back in towards the green where that tornado possible tag was included in that warning. A lot of this convection, though, Ryan, is very shallow. So a lot of what we see is really occurring near the ground, and that really limits what we can see with the radar because of how shallow everything is.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of the storms and the showers out there today, typically summertime, spring, we have these really tall updrafts, really tall cumulus clouds. And today, these showers and storms are all low top. They're not very tall in nature. So that really limits storm growth. But in this case, the radar beam, it may not also be giving us a good look at things because we really can't see the storm structure that well through height. So we're kind of limited on our radar software with this, with today, and as is the case with a lot of spring and fall type of events. So I'll have to keep that in consideration as well. The radar beam at this location is right around 2,000 feet off the surface. That's relatively low. We have some areas in Indiana, we have radar beams that are 8,000, 10,000 feet that are off the ground. So 2,000 is pretty low, but still we're not seeing what's below 2,000 feet with this storm. So right now, though, indications are that this rotation is weak in nature, but we still have some rotation to monitor. It's still worth, catching an eye on and keeping a close eye on it.
Absolutely.
Continues.
And
go ahead.
Yep. I was going to say, if you're not inside that orange polygon, areas around that are under a special weather statement. Special weather statements do not cause your emergency alert system to go off on your radio or in your car. These are issued when storms are strong but not meeting that severe criteria. If you're in the blue polygon surrounding the orange polygon, which would be your severe thunderstorm warning, wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour around and not in the severe thunderstorm warning. Severe criteria is 58 miles per hour or greater. A lot of times you'll see a 60 mile per hour tag on the warning for a baseline severe thunderstorm warning. Quarter size hail is what makes a storm severe. 60 mile per hour winds, 58 technically, and a tornado. Those are your parameters for a severe thunderstorm.
I do want to touch base really quick, Caleb. We have a couple questions in chat about the freezing tonight, as well as other areas in the state. This line is going to be the gustiest of the showers and maybe a thunder out there, so we'll say storms as well. This line does extend all the way up into central Indiana. We are keeping a close eye up here too, because there have been off and on some instances of weak rotation further north up toward Indianapolis especially, but that's moved out of Indy over here toward the Newcastle, Rushville areas here up toward Muncie. So what you're seeing on your screen here is that wind along with this line here. So if you can make it out, we are seeing the wind that is really starting to crank here, moving into Portland, Bern, Geneva, Winchester, eventually Richmond, Connersville here. Expect gusts up to 40 to 50 miles per hour as this passes through. Up here toward the northern half of the state, though, by Fort Wayne up through Angola, we still have some gusty winds up here, but definitely a lot more potent further south with the current warning further south here toward Louisville. Now behind this, we do have excess showers, rain that is still working through the state. Our Arctic air that's going to fill in tonight is back here in Wisconsin and Iowa, pushing our direction here later on this evening. So we will have to keep a close eye on the flash freezing potential overnight tonight as wet roadways, if any wet roadways remain, we will see a flash freeze and it will be slick overnight into Friday morning. That goes for the entire state. The big question is how much rain is going to continue. How much of that wind can dry up some of that rain before the freezing temperatures arrive. We could dry off in some places, but for right now, the chance for a flash freeze does exist late evening into the early portion of Friday.
Yep, what's coming through right now is the first cold front of two. It's kind of a 1-2 punch. Along our severe thunderstorm warning and this whole line of convection itself is cold front number 1. And then this cold front is not the Arctic front. We're not going to see immediate flash freezing behind this line. Temperatures are going to drop. We're in the 50s ahead of the line. Behind it, we're going to drop into the 40s and perhaps upper 30s. But when the Arctic front comes through a little bit later on this evening into overnight tonight, temperatures are going to go from the 30s into the 20s, and then eventually into the 10s and teens by tomorrow morning. Looking on Ryan's screen there, look across Iowa. We have temperatures right now well into the teens and even single digits up in Minnesota and northern Iowa. And when you guys wake up tomorrow morning on your morning commute, I know we're talking about severe weather right now. We're going to be talking about snow squalls later on tonight after midnight. So we're going to go from springtime thunderstorms to back to winter in about 12 hours here. Really a taste of all the seasons we get here in Indiana today. But the biggest concern is it's going to be cold tomorrow morning. Wind chills are going to be in the single digits across central and northern Indiana tomorrow morning by 7 a.m. So it's going to get quite cold overnight tonight when that Arctic front comes through. But the good news is we're in the 40s by Saturday.
Yeah, we're going to warm back up pretty quickly here, and it looks to stay warm through the Christmas time frame as well. Caleb, I believe this warning has potentially been dropped already. Our warning bar has been downgraded.
It has, correct. I think we're just down to a special weather statement for 50 miles per hour, and that's good news. We'll stay on here a few more minutes, keep an eye on it. There are a couple other areas on the line that we want to make sure don't go warned, but for right now, the entire line looks sub-severe, but we could have some gusty winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour. If you're in the southern Indiana, think from areas of Austin, Madison, just to the west of Ohio and Switzerland counties. You're in a special weather statement all the way down to Perry and Harrison County, winds up to 50 miles per hour. And these storms are moving very fast as well. We have really strong winds aloft, really pushing this thing. And these storms have been moving close to 60 miles per hour east, southeast. So they're moving pretty fast.
Indeed. And just go ahead.
Nope, I was just going to say with that, if you are driving, look for areas of ponding as well. Could be problematic here across the state of Indiana, especially Indianapolis and north, where our soils are still froze a little bit below the topsoil. Topsoil is thawing out, but our soil has been in an ice freezer for the past 15 days plus. So our soils are quite cold across northern Indiana. So do watch for any ponding, and that could something we're going to have to watch as our Arctic front comes through as well. Think of the rain falling on a dinner plate instead of falling into a sponge. That's how we have to look at it across portions of central and northern Indiana where our soils are still frozen in areas.
Now the warning has expired. We'll go ahead and call out some cities that are still ahead of this. So this line is still about to impact you guys here. Anybody watching from Louisville, you guys are on deck for this. Georgetown, Scottsburg, Corydon, North Vernon, Versailles, Batesville, Metamora, Richmond, Cambridge City, Winchester, Portland, Bern, Geneva, Decatur, all the way up here through the Fort Wayne area. It's past Fort Wayne. Up here in northern Indiana, Angola still has to be impacted by this. Butler, Woodburn areas as well. And then behind this line, winds will start to calm down briefly. There'll be a bit of a lull there. But some rain showers still ongoing for you guys. But the worst of the wind with the gusty showers and storms is pushing out of the state right now. So if I didn't call your city out or close to it, you guys are okay on the west side. Gonna be breezy out there, but then the next round comes in tonight with a flash freeze possible and that could change over to some snow. Okay, I'll go ahead and bring up the model here really quickly here. This is
Yeah.
your temperatures. I do want to flip this over to the composite reflectivity for this event. I don't know if I have precip type on this or not.
Really, essentially, west of Illinois right now is where you're going to be seeing that precip start to turn to snow a little bit. There you go. Across Iowa there especially. So your Arctic front is just now coming into Illinois. You can see how central Illinois from Chicago to Springfield to St. Louis is still rain. It's green on your map. But as you go a little bit further west, we see that green turn to blue. And that is behind your Arctic front. That'll be moving in. But you notice the gap between these two cold fronts here. Your main cold front is coming through right now as rain. But your Arctic front, just now coming into Illinois, is a little bit a ways behind this. So that timing is something we're going to have to watch here. But notice how some of the rain, or at least on this model here, tries to fill in a little bit as what we call stratiform rain behind this cold front, depending on how much dry air mixes in behind this cold front. If the dry air does not arrive, and if we are able to stay, with light drizzle, light rain ahead of this system, we could be looking at a larger impacts in terms of a flash freeze. But I think we're overdoing it with snow here on this model. We're going to have more snow squalls in nature versus widespread snow. So a little bit deceiving here on this run. But the biggest takeaway is I do think we're going to have time to dry off a little bit. With the winds that we're going to have and the gap that we're going to have, I do think the roadways will dry off somewhat. And I think the biggest concern moves to untreated roadways and rural roadways, or any roadways that have low divots where water could pond and not quite dry off all the way. Those are going to be your problematic areas moving in tonight. Regardless of a flash freeze, black ice is 100% a given at this point in time. We're going to have some of that where water does not drain, but it's going to be more isolated to like areas of ponding and stuff like that, I think. But the biggest story tonight is going to be some snow squalls that are going to be moving in. We're going to have some pretty potent snow squalls move in, not widespread, but those of you that are in these snow squalls could see reduced visibilities of a quarter mile or less. And the winds are going to be gusty. Winds are going to shift from the south right now. Winds are out of the south-southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. We're going to see that shift out of the west-northwest at 15, 25 miles per hour, gusts to 30 miles per hour, perhaps 35 out of the northwest. And that's our cold Arctic air that will be moving in. And when you combine strong winds with our snow squalls, there's a better interpretation of what we expect here tonight. There's our squall line moving through now. And here comes our snow bands moving in right behind it. This is around midnight, 1 a.m. Moving in here. And we could have reduced visibility and some quick accumulations as well. Snowfall rates could be quite heavy at times within these snow squalls. So some areas could see a dusting to perhaps maybe a half inch or so of snow within those bands. Not everyone's going to see snow. But if you're driving on the roadway and get into one of these snow squalls, plan on reduced visibility and slow down, headlights on, and increase their following distance as well. So a couple things to watch out tonight. Black ice, well, ponding right now. Watch out for ponding right now, then black ice later, and then snow squalls after midnight. So all flavors of the rainbow today.
So I would expect travel to be difficult, potentially, as early as around midnight tonight. We start seeing temperatures drop in the northwest part of Indiana by Gary, that area first. It's going to rush into the state after that. That's going to happen about 9 to 10 p.m. tonight. For the most part, after about that 11 to midnight time frame, that's when anything that's wet remaining will freeze. So that is when you should expect travel to start getting slick there. So all throughout Friday morning as well, it should start to improve as crews treat the roads throughout Friday. And as Caleb said before, Saturday's going to warm back up here. So this should all be melted by the time Saturday rolls around. So just plan for slick travel overnight tonight into Friday morning for sure.
Yep, and still watch for slick spots if you're traveling tomorrow during the day. Indiana as a whole is not going to warm up very much tomorrow. Yeah. Most of the state won't get above 20 degrees tomorrow, unless you're in southwest Indiana, Evansville, you're tropical down there. You'll be in the 30s tomorrow. But if you're north of that, tropical in quotes, right? If you're north of that, temperatures are going to be in the teens to 20s for most of the day. In many areas, not getting out of the teens for a good chunk of the day. We may briefly reach 20 for maybe an hour or two in some places of central and northern Indiana. But outside of that, we'll be in the teens most of the day with wind chills in the single digits or tens. So very, very cold air moving in tomorrow. Tomorrow's just going to be a blustery day. It'll feel like what we've been in. But the good news is, it's temporary. this Arctic air is shoved back into Canada next week and into the weekend, and we do warm up and we do see some relief. And that relief is trending to stick around through Christmas, and then perhaps maybe another cool down come to the new first of the year. So still some trends we're watching there, but the trends are holding pretty well for above average temperatures moving into Christmas week. So a nice little break from the ice freezer we have been in. If you're hoping for a white Christmas, odds are not looking very good. Could have some residual snow along the Indiana-Michigan border, but outside of that, white Christmas chances are not looking too good this year. So keep our fingers crossed for something to change for you white Christmas lovers, but right now, not looking too promising for you.
See questions in here about the timing of freezing temperatures tonight. So I figure we can time out that Arctic front here and then probably hop out of here as
Absolutely.
that severe warning to expire. But here is a map of temperatures here on a model. It's 7 p.m. tonight. We're going to see the east side of the state. 50 still as that line progresses through, though. Behind that squall, we're going to call it a squall line, but it's really just a gusty line of showers. It's going to drop. So 50s to about 40 or so. 9 p.m. We talked about 8 to 10 up in Gary. We're starting to see our first temperatures below freezing up there in the northwest part of Indiana by about that 9, 10 p.m. time frame. That's when we can start seeing some freezing going on. It should take a little bit of time, but the really cold air follows in behind it. So here's midnight. Here's 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. By about 3 a.m., we're entirely at or below freezing for the state, and then the really cold air starts to fill in at this time. So back up toward northwest Indiana, we're in the teens and 20s up there, and that will kind of punch us overnight. And by the time we wake up for Friday morning, we're going to be temperature-wise mid-teens, northern half of the state, with about 20, perhaps 30 tropical down there by Evansville. But the big story tomorrow as well is wind chills. Wind chills on your way to school, if you have school tomorrow, they're going to be below zero for a good chunk of northern Indiana here. We're seeing -5, -4, but elsewhere, single digits are expected, and then down by Evansville, 17 for your wind chill at 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. So either way, it's going to be cold. Probably going to be slick out there as well in some spots, so plan for that at very least. When do we ever get a white Christmas? Very, very rarely, Hannah. Very rarely. That's a good
More
point.
common in northern Indiana than it is southern Indiana, but we do on occasion here, especially if you're in northwest Indiana with the lake effect snow. Gary, like from Steuben County, LaPorte County, Elkhart County, those areas up there typically see them a little bit more than areas south. But we do on occasion.
I take one last look at this line here before we decide to roll out of here. I don't see anything else catching my eye. Do you, Caleb?
Not a lot. Really, the main takeaway is this line is going to be booking it out of Indiana into Ohio, and it should be fully in Ohio by probably 8:30. This line is racing off to the east at about 60 miles per hour. Should be out of here by about 8:30. If you're ahead of this line, expect winds 30 to 40, maybe 50 miles per hour. Most of the line has been below 40 miles per hour. Some of those stronger winds are not quite making it all the way to the ground, and part of that is air is kind of stable at the surface, and a lot of that has to do with some cold air near the surface with warmer air aloft. That's a temperature inversion, and what that does, it kind of acts like a lid, and the strong winds hit that lid and they stay on top of that lid versus coming down to the ground. So some of the stronger winds are remaining aloft, which is good, but you can have some occasional winds mix their way down to the ground in the middle of this band. But main takeaway, plan on some gusty winds ahead of this line, heavy rain, ponding, rainfall rates very, very heavy within this line, but this line is the main core of the line is really only about 3 to 4 miles wide,
Very thin.
moving at 60 miles an hour. So it's not going to rain hard very long, but when it does, you'll notice it. Watch out for ponding and anything like that. And then if you're driving tonight or early tomorrow morning for your morning commute, watch out for snow squalls. Stay safe, and we'll keep you updated here on IWN IWO.
One last note here. Have a report behind the scenes that Fort Wayne with this line gusted to 59 miles per hour. So
Wow.
even on the north end of Indianapolis here, where we're seeing these gusts on radar at least be a little bit lower, we are still getting gusts within that line. It's being more efficient, dragging those winds down just a bit more efficient right now further north. So again, 59 mile per hour gusts there at Fort Wayne a few minutes ago from this line that passed through. So if you're on the north side of this line, the very thin part here by like Portland or Winchester or Richmond, you guys still could get some pretty strong winds at this line. So with that said, once that line clears, we'll be done with the worst of the wind at least, but then our attention turns to that potential freeze overnight tonight and wind chills tomorrow morning. I don't see more questions in chat here, so Caleb, you good to roll the outro or anything else you want to add?
I think so. Yeah, main takeaway is if you're ahead of the line, gusty winds still possible tonight, 40, 50 miles per hour, perhaps reaching severe criteria 58. We had that 59 report in Fort Wayne briefly. So a few stronger wind gusts still possible. But the rest of the night, stay warm. Temperatures are going to drop. Drip your pipes if you need to. And stay warm tomorrow. Watch out for black ice or any snow squalls here tonight.
And with that being said, we're going to hop out of here. We'll be live in the event any more warnings get issued. If, we don't expect that to happen. But we'll be back on here in the event that does happen. With that being said, thanks for tuning in, guys. We're going to sign off for the evening. Enjoy your Wednesday. Or no, is it Thursday? Thursday now, isn't it? Enjoy your Thursday. See you guys.